You've probably heard this phrase a million times, especially from one of the world's richest people: never bet against America. But what if that's not just some catchy financial advice? What if it's a cold, hard fact, literally carved into the landscape of the country?
Yeah, that's a pretty bold statement, right? It's famously from Warren Buffett. But you gotta wonder, is that just, patriotic cheerleading? Or is there something real, something fundamental going on that makes American success almost a sure thing? Well, let's dig in. Okay, first things first, let's just look at the raw numbers. The United States isn't just one of the rich countries. It is, by a staggering margin, the richest country on the planet. I mean, look at that chart. That line way, way up top, that's the US. It just completely dwarfs everyone else, even China, let alone economic powerhouses like Japan and Germany. And this isn't some recent thing either. It's been like this for a long, long time. But you know what's maybe even more shocking than the size? It's the consistency. I mean, this isn't a story of crazy booms and busts. We're talking about over 200 years, through civil wars, the Great Depression, world wars, massive social upheavals. The American economy has just chugged along, growing at this almost spooky, consistent average of 2% per person. That trend line, it just keeps going up and up. It almost defies history. So the big question is, why? Right? People usually point to things like democracy, American culture, a powerful military. But what if those aren't the cause? What if they're actually the result of something much deeper? The real answer, the one that doesn't care about who's in office, is written right here on the map. All right, let's break this whole thing down. First up, the engine of wealth. How in the world does America's geography build this unbelievable economic machine? It all starts right here. This is the secret sauce, the crown jewel of American geography, the Mississippi River Basin. Now, this isn't just some big river. No, this is the literal heart of the continent's economic power. So, how did this thing even form? Well, picture this. It's a giant natural funnel. You've got the Rocky Mountains in the west and the Appalachians in the east, acting like these two massive walls. And they channel everything. I mean, everything. Water, topsoil, and eventually trade down into one gigantic interconnected system. And this funnel effect creates two things that are just an unbelievable gift. Look on the left, you see that dense web of rivers? That's natural irrigation on a massive scale. And then look on the right. What's the result of all that water and flat land? Oh, just the single largest continuous piece of amazing farmland on the entire planet. No big deal, right? Okay, so you can grow tons and tons of stuff. Great. But how do you get it from A to B? This, my friends, is the killer advantage. Moving goods on this river system, it's somewhere between 10 and 30 times cheaper than putting it on a truck or a train. That is an insane, almost unfair economic advantage that's just built into the land. And get ready for this, because this next fact is just mind-blowing. The US has more miles of navigable internal waterways, rivers you can actually use for shipping, than the rest of the world combined. Just let that sink in for a second. It's an absolutely unbelievable geographic lottery win. And this is where you can literally see how geography draws the borders of nations. Just look at Europe on the left. The rivers are all chopped up by mountains flowing in every which way. That created natural divides, separate cultures, and yes, centuries of war between rival nations. Now, look at the US on the right. The Mississippi system is one giant integrated network. It pulls everything and everyone together into a single, monstrously powerful economy. Okay, so America basically has a geographic cheat code for generating wealth. But making a ton of money is one thing. What about keeping it? So let's switch gears. We've talked about offense, now let's talk defense. Because America isn't just an engine, it's also a fortress. Yeah, you heard me right. It's not just an economic powerhouse, it's practically an impregnable fortress, with these huge natural walls protecting it on every single side. And you can really break this fortress down into 4 main layers of defense. We've got the oceans, the mountains, and then its really unique borders to the north and the south. Let's take them one by one. All right, first up, the super obvious one, the oceans. The Atlantic and the Pacific, they're not just big ponds. They are massive, massive moats. We're talking over 2,000 miles wide. To put that in perspective, during World War II, Hitler's Germany couldn't even manage to cross the 15-mile English Channel. So a full-on seaborne invasion of the U.S. mainland, it's basically impossible. Just not going to happen. Okay, but let's just pretend for a second.
let's say an enemy somehow managed to land troops on a beach. Well, they'd immediately slam into the second wall of defense. On the East Coast, they run right into the Appalachian Mountains. Out west, the Rockies, which are even bigger. These mountain ranges are like a giant backstop, protecting the country's vulnerable heartland. So what about the north? You've got Canada up there. A threat? Not really, and geography is the reason why. Most of that country is just too cold, the land too poor to support a population big enough to be a rival. In fact, almost all Canadians live in a thin strip right along the US border, and their economy is totally tied to America's. So by geographic design, it's a peaceful, non-threatening neighbor. And what about the south with Mexico? Well, through some very strategic moves, the US basically pushed its border south until it hit the perfect spot, a narrow, mountainous desert region. This created a really tough natural barrier, effectively neutralizing Mexico as a potential military threat and, crucially, securing the southern approach to that all-important Mississippi Delta. So when you put all these pieces together, what's the final verdict? What kind of hand has geography dealt America? Well, it's pretty darn clear. It's an unbeatable one. It really just boils down to this incredibly powerful two-step punch for global dominance. Step 1, use your vast, fertile, hyper-connected heartland to generate an almost obscene amount of wealth. And then, step 2, protect all that wealth with natural fortresses on every single side. And when you see it all laid out like this, the full picture just clicks into place. You've got this incredible economic engine right in the middle, shielded by 4 massive layers of defense. This combination, this 1-2 punch of economic power and physical safety, that is the ultimate, unchanging source of America's enduring strength. It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, politics change, cultures shift, the headlines are always screaming about the latest crisis or decline, but the mountains aren't moving, the rivers aren't going anywhere. So you have to ask, will this core geographic advantage just keep on going? You know, the source material we're looking at puts it pretty bluntly, and it brings us right back to where we started. The quote is, "I would personally never bet against the US." And when you look at the map, it's hard to argue with that.